So yesterday you worked backwards. You measured your height and then you used your height to calculate the length of different bones in your body. And that was to build up for our starting bone mysteries. So you'll be presented with scenarios of a site of someone dying. And it'll give you the setting and clues. And from those clues, you need to figure out the age, um, possible scenarios, time of death, um, and things like that. And then develop a safety tip so no one else dies in this way. So, to start, for this example, I'm going to do a model one of what I would like you to do as you do it. So they'll be in your OneNote notebook, and it'll be text so you can highlight and annotate as you go, either using the draw feature um, up here or using the highlight feature. Okay, so this is your first bone mystery. So the setting. Several sections of skeleton are discovered in a heavily forested, little visited park. Okay, so that's important. So a lot of trees, that means there aren't a lot of people around. So I'm going to want to highlight that so I can come back to it. Near a school. Okay, so the area where the bones are discovered was once the site of a lumber mill. Okay, so previously it was a lumber mill. Little of the lumber mill is left. Over the past 10 years, the location has been reclaimed by hundreds of trees and shrubs. An old, partially rotted board with a 10-inch spike protruding from one end is found near the skeleton. Okay, so I'm going to make that actually bold and yellow. So you can color code your things, like you want to make any clues you think having to do with the age. You can pick a color and annotate it in any fashion you want. Okay, wait a minute. I'm wondering, can you insert, seeing if you could insert a sticky note. I'll probably want to stick with highlighting and color coding. Okay, so we're in this remote location that was once near a school and near a lumber mill. Okay, so then we get to the individual clues about the skeleton itself. So we see that there are braces on the mandible. Okay. Now, you may not know what a mandible is, but in your resources, you do have a skeleton with the bones labeled. So if you didn't know what a mandible was, I would probably highlight that, make it bold, and go and underline it so I could go look up. And then you have on the cranium. So you know where typically braces are on your teeth. So you can infer that the mandible is the jaw and your cranium is the head. And by using the skeleton resource, you can confirm that. So you should start be thinking, who usually has braces? So typically, not always, but typically braces are on younger. So we're probably looking at someone under 20 at this point. Then we keep reading, and it says the top of the femur is wide and flat. So you're going to want to go to your resources and see what that is. And here we have another bone that you'll want to look up where the femur is. And then it gives you the length of the femur is 40 centimeters. Well, from your activity on Tuesday, you know that you can calculate the height from the femur. So you're going to use this information on B to calculate how tall the estimated height of the victim is. And then we have a picture of the right hand. And from our resource, we know that the fingers and if it's a straight line across tells us something additionally about the skeleton. And scrolling down, we have a wide pelvis, which gives us a clue about the gender of the victim. And once again, your resource tells you that. Pelvis is another part of the skeleton. So you'll want to go to your resource and look that up. So this gives us another clue about the possible gender. Okay, so we've been able to calculate the height, and we have a general idea about the age from A. The hand tells us another clue. The pelvis gives us a clue about the gender. So now now it goes into clues about how the death occurred. So we have the right side edge of the sternum is broken and splintered inward. So let's see, I'm gonna make this blue. Splintered inward. Okay, that tells us the direction of the force. So I'm going to make that bold and italicize that. So that means whatever came in from the front. Your sternum is the center section that holds your ribs together. So there was a force that pushed it inward. So we know the direction of the force. And then on the inside rear of the rib cage. So the sternum is front, but now we have on the back of the rib cage. So that's important. The fourth ribbed is nicked. Now, what does that mean? Nicked means it has like a little out of it. So we know that there was a force great enough to splinter the bone in the front sternum, and that whatever it was went through the body and took a little chunk out of the rib in the back. Okay. And then that nicked bone where the little chip out of the bone is surrounded by crumbly rust. Okay, and from experience, you know that rust comes from iron. So we're probably looking at, and would be what was running through my brain, probably looking at metal. Okay, so then we found a sneaker near the left foot. Okay, now I would think, okay, who wears sneakers? That would fit with someone under 20, even though all ages wear sneakers. Um, Athletes wear sneakers. People walking wear sneakers. So maybe this person was active. And then the inside the sneaker, there is residue of foot powder. Okay, and foot powder is usually used to prevent athlete's foot. So maybe this person is an athlete or they're very active and they sweat a lot. So this gives me another clue with the sneaker that this is an active person. Okay, it says the watch on the left wrist stopped at 12:01. That may or may not mean anything. We want to finish reading the clues, so I'm just going to make that yellow to come back to. There is a deflated basketball near the skeleton. Okay, so now I'm thinking we've got probably under 20. We're talking someone younger. We have sneakers. We have foot powder, which is used by people who sweat a lot. And we have a deflated basketball. Now, it's probably deflated because remember, this is in a remote area that's become overgrown, that was once near a school. So that fits the time passing. So this body's been undiscovered for quite a while now. And the deflated basketball to me leads me to think that this was an active person. That and the fact that it's near a school. Let's see, did it say what type of school, what age level the school was? Visited a park, little of the lumber mill, past hundreds of trees, near school. So we don't know if this was an elementary school or a middle school. I would think probably lean more to like the middle school, high school, because you don't usually see foot powder in elementary school. Okay, so then we have the tattered remnants, and tattered leads to the fact that it's been there for a while. So this was wearing, the victim was wearing a t-shirt and gym shorts. And so once again, that fits the younger, this was probably a school-aged victim because we have t-shirt, gym shorts, sneakers, athlete's foot powder, deflated basketball. Okay, so now that you have all your clues, then you summarize what the sex of the victim is, and that you want to look at the skeleton, and it will help you decide that. Age, and that can be a like a band of 5 years. So for this one, I would say probably 16 to 13 years old for this victim. You know, high school level, maybe up to 17 years old for this victim. So you could do for, you don't have to say was 14 years, 3 months. You can give an age range of about 5 years. Height of victim, that you can calculate from the length of the femur, just like you did for yourself, and estimated time of death. Now, you want to be careful here. Every mystery will have a watch clue in it. And you need to think this is an abandoned area for like 10 years. So this victim has been laying here for quite a while. So the fact that the watch stopped at 12:01 doesn't necessarily mean they died at 12:01 because the watch battery could have died. It depended on what type of watch it is. So sometimes you have to be careful um, with the watch clue. Because, like in this example, the body's been there and the watch would have died naturally. So it wouldn't be naturally a time of death. And possible scenario how the death occurred. So to go back, I would look, okay, so we're in a fort. We know they're near a school and they're dressed in tennis shoes, tennis shoes, a t-shirt and shorts, and there's a basketball there. So I would infer that they were going to play basketball on the basketball court at the school, and they were walking through the woods to get there. Now, there was an old lumber mill there, and so it looks like there's boards around, and they were taking a shortcut and possibly tripped and fell onto the board with the spike, and the spike went, and it follows that they tripped, they fell forward, the spike went through their sternum and their heart, which protects the heart, so it probably penetrated the heart, and you know they fell with enough force because it penetrated bone and then actually nicked the bone in the back, which reinforces that they probably tripped and fell. And if you're going to play basketball, chances are I would predict that this happened in either late afternoon, like after school, or on a weekend during the day. So I would probably put estimated time of death sometime like late afternoon. And you heard my possible scenario and safety tip would be to possibly watch where you're walking. Go with a friend, and since the body's laid there for a while, obviously, no one knew where this person was. So another safety tip would be to share where you're going with people. Okay, so yes. Okay, so how can this be graded? So you'll get +2 for making notations. And this was one that I notated by hand before. So +2 for notating the mystery, which means you're closely reading and looking for evidence. And see, even in, you can see where I marked, here's the sternum where I think this spike penetrated. Okay. And so you see how I annotated. And then for when you summarize your findings, it's +2 for giving the sex, the gender of the victim, the age of the victim, the height of the victim, and time of death. So each one of those is 2 points. So that gives you a total of 8 points there. Then, because this is the part that takes the thought work in piecing together, you get 10 points for the scenario that takes into account all the clues presented and gives a logical cause of death. And then your safety tip is +5, which gives you a total of 25 lab points. Hope you enjoy investigating.